Okay, I know I always kind of say like I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do this X, Y, or Z, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this portion. I don't know. I feel like if I just paint it all, that it's gonna kind of look very like middle school art project. So 3 rectangles together to create like a prism. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I have a Wear the Runway video. So for Schiaparelli's Couture show this year, they had these 2 outfits that integrated a lot of like older technology, and I thought that they were really cool. And so I thought about how could that be something that like an everyday person, maybe not every day, but like how could that be more wearable? And I thought about making a purse. So in this video, I will actually be making a purse inspired by them as well. Their like tri-face bag. I will put a picture. So that will be the base, and then I will decorate it with pieces to kind of look like what they have. So I hope that you like the video. If you do, don't forget to like and subscribe. Follow me on my social medias, and let's get into it. Okay, in this week's video, I am doing a Wear the Runway video, and I'm going to try to make these pieces from Schiaparelli into a purse. So the idea behind Wear the Runway is when I see like runway or red carpet pieces that are a little outrageous, maybe, seeing if there's a way to make it a little more like wearable for everyday life. And this year for Schiaparelli's, I think, Couture week, their collection was pretty good. I feel like Schiaparelli is pretty good, and I think it's Danielle Roseberry is brilliant. Also, I like his sister as well on TikTok, so if I can remember, I'll post her page. She makes jewelry, and I also think that her stuff is good as well, so I want to shout her out. But I saw these 2 pieces that include a lot of like technology type, so I think I've looked at it closely. So obviously there's a lot of like little motherboards, I think that's what they're called, that like go into computers and stuff. But there's like phones, calculators, headphones, CD players. So yeah, I just thought those pieces were so cool, and I wanted to see if I could make it. So of course I have to try. So for the bag, originally I was thinking something not like, kind of like the Hermes Kelly shape, not exactly like a Kelly, but then I thought that with opening it, like to open it, the top flap is gonna have to move, and since there's gonna be a lot of stuff on it, I didn't really like that. So I actually went and looked at some Schiaparelli bags, and so I came to this bag, which is pretty much it's not a pyramid. I cannot think of the name of that shape, but pretty much it's 3 rectangles together to create like a prism. Because I was like, yeah, it kind of creates a prism, and I liked the idea because I think those pieces don't move as much, but they're connected with like a little flap so it can come out some. So first thing I'm gonna do is try to create a little prototype with paper just to see if the idea of what I'm thinking will work, and then after that I will pattern it and go from there. Also, the plan, I do have like a full plan on how to make this bag because I like watched a video that is in French, so I didn't understand it, but I watched a video of the making of one of their bags, and just, yeah, kind of like piece together how I think this should work, especially because this bag in particular, the handlebars are attached through the eyes, and I'm not doing something like that, so yeah. But I'm gonna make the bag, and then I'm gonna make the pieces to go on it, like the computer pieces. And I did get some stuff on clearance from Michael's for Valentine's Day and St. Patrick's Day that I think I might be able to use, because I have some jewels but like not nearly enough. So yeah, I'm gonna make my prototype, and then I'm going to make the pattern. Okay, so this is the little prototype. I just wanted to make sure that putting something on the edge would allow it to come out but still go in how I want it to, and I think that it will, so I'm going to get ready and make the pattern. Okay, here are the pattern pieces. So these will be the sides of the bag. This will be the base. This will go on the side so the bag can open up more. This will be the top to close it, and these will be the handles. So this is the outside fabric I'm going to use, and this is the lining I'm going to use. For the lining, I'm going to fold for these pieces the seam allowance in and then cut out the lining, so that even though I don't think I'll need the full seam allowance like down here, but I'll figure that out. Yeah, so I have, I'm gonna do that before I attach, so when I do sew them together, it's not like super duper thick. So I'm going to trace those onto the fabric, and then I'm going to cut out all the pieces. Okay, I figured out the seam allowance. So for the sides of the bag, all of these edges except for the top, I will fold in for the lining, since there's nothing that's going to be at the top, so I want the lining to go all the way up. Same for the side, for the bottom, for the lining, all sides of the triangle. And then for this one, I folded in these edges for the piece in general, because since this is the seam allowance, I don't want that extending past there. And then for the lining, I will fold this up since I don't need that part. So yeah, now I'm going to cut them out. Okay, I have all the pieces. I also cut them down to make sure everything will fit. I also decreased the seam allowance some. I'm going to hand stitch most of this, and I actually bought some stuff to just make sewing this a little bit like nicer and easier, which I will like show when I get to that point. But I cut that down since I'm gonna hand stitch it. I don't think I need as much seam allowance compared to trying to do the machine. But I'm also gonna like glue almost everything first. Pieces I'm going to start with, I have some twine, so I'm gonna put that in like the center portion of the handle, and then I'm going to fold the whole thing over and glue it. And then for this is to hold like an actual strap, like a long strap. So I'm gonna just glue each piece together, and then like I will sew everything down later. I'm starting with these because these will need to be attached to the outside piece for like the outside of the bag before I can attach that to the lining. So, and then I will do the side, I don't know what to call it, and then like the top and the bottom. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm using the contact cement gel formula, and I apply that, I let it sit for like 15-20 minutes, and then I put the pieces, and I'm actually using a jade roller because I don't actually use it for my face, to press it into each other. And then I clip it together for some time. You don't really have to use the clamps, or at least that's what the instructions say, but I'm doing that just in case. So I'm going to do the same thing, but I have some magnets that I'm going to attach. So I think I'm going to attach the adhesive to the magnet and then do the glue around everywhere else, and then let it sit, and then later I will sew around the magnet and sew this together. Okay, I'm about to glue the bottom and the side piece. I marked on the like actual piece where the lining will go so I can make sure the glue lines up, and then I'm just gonna put the glue on the entire backing of the lining. Okay, I sewed a piece, so I'm going to say what I did and show that, and I also want to show some of the things that I bought or I've been using. So this is a little setup. I'm gonna link to videos below on how to do a saddle stitch. This is the stitch that I'm using to sew this, and I think it's the stitch that people use to sew leather. I'm looking at the TV because tonight's the Oscars. That's why I look like this. I'll put up a picture, but in honor, I've been doing the 75 hard style challenge, and I'm trying to pull through and finish. And so in honor of the Oscars, I wanted to take a picture in the dress that I designed for the Met Gala a few years ago. I think it was like the one about like American fashion, and I did it on Native American fashion designers because I so desperately want Lily Gladstone to win, and I guess I will update y'all later on whether or not she does. But I thought it'd be cute to like put on that dress and like put on some makeup and stuff in honor of that. So that's why I keep looking at the TV, because it should be, there's like a commercial break, but I think like the ceremony is like about to start. Also, a little note, I saw everything that was nominated, like everything. And so that's another reason why I'm like so excited, because it's I think it's my first time like actually watching the Oscars, and the SAG Awards a few weeks ago was like the first award ceremony I think I've ever really watched. And so for me to be the first time watching the Oscars and I've seen every single thing nominated, it's really exciting. But the point, this is the little rig that I made. In the 2 videos I'll link, they kind of have something special. I obviously was not going to get that, so I got this clamp that's adjustable, because I think a spring clamp, which is what this type of clamp is, would probably like dent the fabric. And then I got a foam block to be able to put it in, so that's one thing. I got these needles, and you'll see them when I'm working. They're bigger than some of the hand sewing needles that I have, and well, actually I'm keeping them in this container, so they're bigger than the needles I have, so they can actually go through the leather, but they're not super sharp, and the hole where you put the thread isn't too big, so that's why I got those. Another tool I got is this. It's a seam creaser. I don't know if I already talked about that. I use the seam, and well, I'll talk about why I've used this, but I have a seam creaser. The other big thing that I've got is a stitching chisel, which makes the stitches, and it makes it really neat, and it's very helpful. It's better than using just the awl. I also am using cutting board specifically for this now, wood mallet. And I used the jade roller to, when I glued it, I think I talked about that, but those are the main things. So I will get ready and say how I am stitching it, and then I will show you, or I will show you as I say it. Okay, I have a commercial break, obviously for y'all. This is right after the last clip, but for me, it is not. So to explain what I did, so the first thing I do is I take the piece that I am going to sew and I mark how far in, like how much seam allowance I want. And then I use a ruler and I use the seam creaser to make a little line. I don't think that this line will like stay, but I just do it because it's temporary. And then I take the stitching chisel and I line it up and I hit it with a mallet on top of the cutting board that is on a block of wood, because I think that doing it directly onto a cutting board, it's not as solid enough for it to go through all the way. And from one of the videos I watched, he said not to use a metal tip hammer, which I was going to use, so that's why I'm using a mallet. I do that and I try to make sure that it goes all the way through. And then when I move to the next one, I line up whichever chisel that I'm using, since I have 4 different sizes, or I guess like with 4 with different prong amounts. I line it up with the last hole so it's in there. And then I keep doing that to make sure that it is even. And if I'm doing a piece that isn't as long, I will use one of the smaller ones and line it up. And then after that, after I have the whole thing through, I take a long strand of thread. I'm not exactly sure on how long to make the thread, since I've only done one so far, but I want to try to ideally have enough that I don't have to re-thread it. And I put a needle on one end and I stick the needle through the thread once and then through the thread again and pull that down to kind of create a knot. Mine is not a super secure knot, so that's something else I might have to play around with. And then I do the same thing on the other side. And then to start, if needed, as I'm doing it, I can use the awl to push through to make sure that the hole goes through both sides, but I haven't really needed that so far. So to start, I take one needle and I put it through so the thread is roughly in the middle, and then from the left side I bring the needle that's on the left side through. I put the right side needle over top to kind of make a T, and then I push it through. And something to try to keep in mind, or try if you do this, something that I've run into is sometimes I'm catching the nylon thread a little bit, so it gets stuck and I have to cut a little bit off, which has caused some problems. So when I'm pushing it through, I'm trying to make sure, like the right side needle through, I'm trying to make sure that it doesn't catch any of the thread on the way through to not run into that issue. I pull it through and then you loop I think the top thread over the needle as it's coming through, and then you pull it tight and repeat that. And then to end a stitch, pretty much you just go backwards, like you just go back 1 or 2 times, and then you bring the thread over to one side, ideally the side that it won't be seen or won't be seen as much. And then I guess some people glue theirs down. The guy in the video, he just burns his, so I've been doing that since I'm using nylon thread. It melts some, and I think that would also work with polyester thread. So I think that is pretty much all. So that is what I did, and I will keep doing. I said I would update, and sadly Lily Gladstone did not win, which was obviously upsetting for me. Yeah, that's all. Okay, so I've sewn some pieces, and something that I've been doing that has been helpful, because every so often I will catch some of the thread in, like, through one of the needles. I don't know if that makes sense, but when I'm going back through, it'll catch a little bit of the thread, and so then it'll like loop through, and I have to chip away at the thread a little bit. So one thing that I've been finding helpful is after I go through with the stitching chisel, I either use the awl and poke through both sides, like the sides I just did the chisel on, and then the other side, or if I can, just the other side, to make sure that the hole is big enough to try to get the thread through, or like the needle through, without catching the thread. Okay, so it's some of the pieces that'll go on the front or like the sides of the bag. So I'm gonna use this leather paint that I got from Joann's to like finish the ends, so you don't see any of like the white from the lining or like the inside, and then I'm going to glue it to the front. Okay, so for gluing, I'm gonna start with these pieces, and I marked out where I want the glue to go for here, and then I will do some glue under here. And I got these like cheap brushes so I can throw them out afterwards if they're no good. So I'm gonna do the glue these, and then I'm going to glue the little pieces for the strap, and then I'll do the handles after. Okay, I glued on the handles and these little parts for a strap, so now I'm going to get ready and sew them down. I'm not going to sew the top. I kind of want to wait until I put everything together and then either sew it then or see if it still needs to be, if I still want to sew it. Okay, I did something that I said that I wasn't going to do, and I sewed the top of all of the pieces. So here, I was going to wait until the end to do this because I want it to be cohesive, but I just felt like it'd be easier to do it now, so I did that. So now I'm going to get ready and glue these to the side pieces to connect the like main portion of the bag. Okay, I sewed the sides and I just glued the bottom, so I'm going to let the bottom sit before I sew that. And while that's sitting, I'm going to start doing some leather paint around the edges. I don't know if I already showed it or not, but yeah, I got some leather acrylic paint and I've been finishing the edges with that. So one thing that I would have done differently, or I would do differently in the future because I didn't really know. So as I think I mentioned earlier, with the lining, I had it come in a little bit less than the actual pieces, so I wouldn't have too many layers when I'm sewing, especially because like with the stitching chisel, I will say some of them go through a ton. I don't know if I got it filmed, but like the one that's only two, like one hit and it literally goes through the cutting board and into the wood block that I have it on. So I do think that like the stitching chisels could have gone through 4 layers. It might have been more effort, but I think what I would have done differently is for like the main 3 pieces, have the lining go all the way, and then on like the side pieces in the bottom, have the lining come in a little bit, so then that way it would be only 3 layers, but on the inside you can definitely like see some of the gaps where it just didn't line up well when I glued it and I sewed it, but it is what it is. So yeah, so this is what we're looking like right now. So I'm gonna oops, sorry, Blaze is in my way. I'm going to glue, or not glue, I'm gonna paint up here and probably the sides while the glue is setting, and then once the glue is set and probably once I sew it, I will bend these in so I can close it all the way, and once I close it, then I will paint up there. Okay, this is where I'm at with the bag so far. So I kind of like it as is and would almost consider just stopping here. But since I did say that I wanted to decorate it like those pieces from their Couture show, I think I am going to continue, and I might just make another one in the future. But as you can see, sides don't fully close, and I've already like had some clips trying to hold it, but I think it's always going to push out. So I'm going to use Velcro to try to get them to be able to like come together. I was going to use magnetic tape. The magnetic tape that I bought was very weak, wouldn't stick to itself and would barely stick to any like other metals. So I'm thinking that the Velcro might be the best bet, and this is a Velcro that holds up to 5 pounds, so I'm thinking that it should be strong enough. So even though this is sticky, I am going to glue it because I want to make sure it's secure. And I think I'm going to cut it in half because as it gets lower to the bottom, it's a little, it will be too big. And if the half doesn't work, I could just add another half higher up. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Okay, I know I always kind of say like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this X, Y, or Z. But I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this portion. So the next portion is like actually making it look like the runway looks, the inspiration. And I'm going to start with paper mache, and I guess I'm just like actually kind of fearful because I don't know if I don't expect them to look like these pieces to be like hyper realistic, but I don't want it to look bad. So I am going to start to make the paper mache pieces and like paint them and all that stuff, and I think if I get to a point where I'm like, I don't think this is turning out, I won't put them on the bag, but if I do think like, oh, you know, this is looking good, then I will. So some of the pieces that I'm thinking about doing, I'm going to do a Nintendo DS, an iPod, and then a Razer flip phone. And then I also was thinking in an iPod Nano, a flash drive, and then some of the motherboards. So the bag is pretty small, so I don't have that much space, so like obviously these will not be to scale. So I'm going to start making those, and like for like the dimension aspects of some of them, so for example for like the Nintendo DS, the screen is like a little bit in, it's not like even all across like the iPod is. I'm going to layer cardboard to hopefully give that effect of the dimension. So I'm just gonna start drawing some stuff out and cutting it out, and then I will hot glue the cardboard together before I paper mache. Okay, I have the pieces cut out, so I'm gonna get ready and hot glue them. I also have marked just like where I want to glue each piece so I know. Yeah, so I'm gonna hot glue these together now. Okay, I have the pieces paper mache, so I'm gonna do a layer of joint compound, this one. I don't know if you're supposed to use this one, but this is what I bought a while ago. On just the top. I'm not gonna do it on the back because I feel like that might be, just with wanting to glue it down, I don't know if I wanna do joint compound, but I will paint the back as well, so yeah. Well, I'm gonna do it on the tops and around the sides, but yeah, I'm gonna do that, and then once the joint compound dries, I will do a layer of gesso to seal it. And from my understanding, from something that I saw a while ago, the joint compound can help make it smooth. Usually I would wipe it with a rag, but since these are so small, I don't know. Also, usually I'd kind of use like a scrape, but also since these are so small, I wanted to try using a brush. So yeah, I'm going to do that. Okay, I'm about to start painting them. I gessoed and I used the joint compound. I think my thought is to try to make them look good. So obviously they're not gonna look realistic. It's not gonna look like you're holding like a razor phone or like a DS in your hand. But I think to try to make them look decent, the best way to do that is to mix paint with like other mediums, if that makes sense. So over there I have like a pile of stuff, and I don't know if I'm going to use it all, but for example, like that black ribbon right there, I will probably use as like the screen of the DS to try to, yeah. I don't know, I feel like if I just paint it all, that it's gonna kind of look very like middle school art project. So if you were to look at like what will be the flash drive, if I just like painted this part and this part, like this silver and this something else, I think it would look like but I think if I, for example, put like, I have this gold duct tape, maybe if I do that, that might make it look a little better. I don't know, so we will see, but I'm gonna start painting the base color, and then if there's any other things that I want to paint, I will do that afterwards. Something I wanted to point out is just like the difference between using joint compound and not. So obviously like it's still not super smooth, and like that will show up, and I think there's ways that I can maybe get that better. Like I think maybe if I did more layers and sanded it some, all of that stuff. But this is joint compound and this is not joint compound, and I think it is a big difference. So yeah. Okay, I have the pieces made, and I guess let me show them. So this is how they look. I feel iffy on some of them. I think some of them look good. I think some of them look okay. But I'm going to full send and put them on the bag anyways. So I just kind of went through and laid out where I think I'm gonna want each one. So I'm gonna use the contact cement to connect them to the bag because I really want them to stay. And then using some other jewels and beads and stuff, I will decorate around them. I don't really know what that's going to look like yet because there's also not going to be that much free space, but I'm just going to get these pieces on and then I'm going to start adding other stuff. Thanks for watching. I really hope you liked this video. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe. So I do like how this bag turned out. I know at one point I said I don't know if I can pull it off, and even though I do like how it turned out, it's not exactly what I was expecting. I guess I wanted the pieces to look a little more realistic, but realistically, it would have been really hard to do that without actually just having old technology pieces, and I didn't want to try to source things like that. So I do like how it looks, but it's not fully what I was expecting, and I do like the bag and the shape of the bag itself, so I would consider making another one in the future. But I really hope y'all liked it, and until next time, bye guys.